other people show up. So we can do the renewal of a residence office permit without a problem, but I hope some other people show up for the regulation revision since they were here for the first. I know, I understand. And I would like as many people that heard the beginning to hear the end. Okay. So our first public hearing is with Jody Seidner, 9 Blue Trails Drive. Come join us. Please sign in. Do not steal the pen. Yeah. Mr. Gilbertson's not joining us tonight.
I'm ready. Okay. So I'm Jody Seidner. I'm the owner of Sweet Seidner's Bake Shop here in Woodbridge, Connecticut, and I'm applying for a renewal of my home office permit, which is for my commercial kitchen.
Has anything changed since last?
I built my kitchen.
Same operation?
Same operation. It's going really well. Done a lot of farmers markets and building my clientele, having a lot of fun. I have new distribution at Amity Meats in Woodbridge. That's my second retail outlet here in Woodbridge. That's
What's it
new.
called?
Amity Meats down.
No, I know Amity Meats.
Sorry. Sweet Seidner's Bake Shop.
Everybody knows Amity Meats.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
For the record, we've received absolutely no comments.
We've also haven't received any samples. Yes,
That's
I know.
right. I was told that's a no-no.
That is a no. That's true. That's okay. Okay, are there any other questions?
And she's
Signage.
looking for a
A renewal.
renewal for how many years now? Is it
Typically, you've been doing 4.
4?
Yeah, whatever it is, I'm flexible.
Fine.
All right.
That's quick.
It's a tough one, but. Where's your other retails?
So I have retail at the Right Approach in Woodbridge and at Amity Meats, but honestly, 99% of my business is online and it gets shipped.
Oh.
Or it's bought at farmers markets or
Yeah.
at fairs or festivals that I go to and bring product with me and sell.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Okay.
And your
check.
online, your website is which?
It's sweetseidners.com.
We're gonna check it out right now.
I was gonna say, you've got the computer, you can be tempted by all the cookies and brownies, and we're heading into the holiday season, so we're doing all of our decorated cookies soon. We've got turkeys and pilgrims for Thanksgiving, and candy canes and Christmas trees and dreidels and all that stuff for the holidays. Were you able to find it?
I was.
Good.
Do you have a website? You must. That's weird. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. I take it back. It's right there. Oh yeah. See, that would have been a good bribe. Share a cookie, make a friend.
There you
Share
go.
a cookie, get approval. I mean, there's all sorts of ways to look at this. Oh yeah, these look good. Okay, we'll have to talk later. Awesome. Thank you.
I'm all set. So
Appreciate it.
do you want me to stay for the rest of the meeting for the work session, or how does that go? I can't
You
remember.
don't really have to.
Okay.
You can. You can call tomorrow with Chris and she'll tell you
I can
whether
email it. Great.
we've said
All right.
yes.
I'm gonna go home and bake more cookies.
I do have to. See? Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone here to speak opposed to the application? You must have a lot of friends.
I do.
That's
It's
good.
a good thing.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
I had my pen. No, that's their big one.
right, the next continuation public hearing is for James Urbano. Revisions to the zoning regulations for the town of Woodbridge proposed by the Town Plan and Zoning Commission regarding the addition of residential uses in the GB district and reinstatement of the exclusion of exempt structures on the roof that were omitted when the zoning regulations were updated in 1963. I still have a little trouble accepting the fact that from 1963 to now we haven't corrected it. Just saying. All right, so we're continuing. The only thing we had a question on last time was the idea of the tower and what a definition of a tower is, which Chris has sent us some definitions of a tower. I guess the question for the app, you don't have anything planned for in the tower, do you? And have you told us what size it is?
I did. And the plans that I had given you the first meeting did show the towers. And depending on which concept, the tower was either 5 or 15 feet above the limit,
And what was
existing limit.
what was the footprint?
The footprint in all cases is 6,000 square feet, roughly 60 by...
The tower? Just the tower?
I'm sorry. I thought you
Just
meant
the
the
tower.
footprint of the building. No, 15 by 15. And it gets smaller as it gets higher.
But
Sort of like a belfry.
Okay, but
church.
but the idea is, so are you planning on putting anything in there? You're not planning on putting anything in there?
No, it's strictly an architectural embellishment.
It's a design.
It could be dispensed with.
Yeah, that's what I kind of remember.
It's similar to mill towers, church towers, not as elaborate as a church tower, but definitely a New England detail.
All right. And Chris, does he have to come back for a site plan review with us?
Yeah, he can't submit anything to you.
So this is really
Until
just
this-
to talk about this regulations, and then he can submit something afterward, and then we can go for a site plan review, and then we can talk about other questions.
Chris, do you have a picture of what he submitted? I don't think I was at that meeting.
Here it is.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's a couple different schemes.
Here we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep,
So you said it's either 5 or 15?
correct. If it's with the residential proposal, which is what I'm asking the zoning relief for, it would be about 5 feet higher there. Because the building itself is 2.5 stories.
Looks more than five. But he's on the record. I mean, he doesn't feel strongly about this tower. But
Looks nice.
well, that's what I was thinking.
It's a nice architectural feature.
That's the same.
Does look this- Well, I think one is just off of it. I mean, here's the
This is the bed, this is
right.
the
If it's apartments, condos.
condos.
Owner occupied residential concept
7.
and business concept.
And
Well,
this
the
is
front.
right, and this is the
Business concept.
Right.
Well, the front was right there.
yeah.
Okay.
Jeff, you did ask about the test hole.
I know, and so I'm a little, that's why I was asking if you're coming back to us.
I am, but I can report that there was no ledge.
Seriously?
Witnessed by Terry Gilbertson, yes. And that was
How
at
could there be no ledge?
the area of the greatest
I mean, it
cut.
does go up like this, right? And
It's deceptive. You need to walk it. Really, it's manageable. At its the deepest cut, and it's a cut and fill, is 11 feet, and it lessens going toward June Street.
and how far in from the street are you?
The building is 10 feet off the property line, similar to the Alpert building. And I can leave an A2 survey with you. Actually, the first page of the plans that you have
Yeah, I know, so I was just looking at it.
shows it as in relation to the property line.
Okay. Well, so I think our real question as far as the tower, at least my concern was that it was going to be used for something. So if it's just an architectural feature, then I don't actually have a problem with it. But I don't want us to suddenly run into a situation where we're putting in a tower that then we have to check with the fire department for ladders and things like that.
Sure.
But if you're telling me it's unused and it's just a
Well, at 15 Research Drive, the tower there is being used. It's just as an
15
observatory
Research Drive.
at the foot of West Rock Ridge. There's a stairwell into the tower. At the very end of the street, to the
On the
left
left.
of Joyce Printers.
To the left of what?
Joyce Printers.
Oh, right. And they do use it.
Peter Kaufman uses it. They play foosball.
We can discuss this. I think that would get involved in the definition if we approve this zoning change. It would have to include a definition for tower.
Right.
I can
Because what
dispense
he's
with the
talking
tower.
about would apply with respect to his application, which isn't even before us now.
Right.
So,
I know.
If the tower presents a complication, I can dispense with it and make it conform to the existing code
Right.
requirements.
Yeah.
What's the sequence of events here on this?
Well, the tower, I mean, Chris will fill us in, but we want to pass the regulation. We want to approve the regulation or not. And the question of the tower can be included in tonight's regulation discussion, or can it be brought to us when he comes for a site plan review?
The option that you would have would be, if it's not something that's exempt under your regulations, then his option would be to go to the zoning board of appeals and to seek a variance. How successful he would be at that, don't know.
For the tower.
Right.
And he would need to know that, we would need to make a decision tonight then, is what you're
If
telling me.
you reinstated the thing excluding towers from the height requirement and had some kind of definition that it, you were comfortable with from the examples that I provided to you or whatever you came up with, then you would adopt it that way if you so chose to adopt it. And then you wouldn't have to go to the zoning board of appeals.
Question.
If he wants to. He may not even want to,
Right.
because
question, if we did it that way, if we come up with a definition for tower, would that be a new change that would require a new public hearing? I don't know.
Or is it different because it was a part of the regs previously and had been?
Well, the tower
You would be putting in language and your decision would be to include what the definition of tower was based on the concerns that
Or-
you raised.
Or we could do we could do it at the time we make the major amendments. Because that hasn't even gone before public hearing
Right.
yet. So we can always do it there. Okay.
Or you could look at other definitions
Yeah,
of
because
height that
we're,
might,
as part of the proposed regulations, we're having new definitions all over the place.
What's your timeline?
For construction,
for moving forward?
well, if there's an approval tonight, I'll
Right.
get into building plans, so that takes a couple of months. And then plan review, that may take,
Okay, so that would be okay, because
Yeah.
the game plan is that, I hope we're gonna do, we'll talk about it tonight, but I'm hoping that we're gonna do another public meeting, public hearing meeting on the regs.
Somebody actually shows?
Well, whatever,
Yeah.
tells us a lot, actually, in December.
Okay.
And then have our public hearing approval, in January. So, it seems like that wouldn't be a problem if we included it in our
You
regulation.
probably would need a longer time frame than that to get it to the necessary things. You might have to push it to February,
Why is that?
because you have notice requirements that have to go on.
Yeah, and so how much time do we need for that?
You need 35 days from when you schedule out.
Okay, so that's still January. Oh, okay.
so are you talking about just the tower or the zone change as well?
No, I think we're set. Well, I'm assuming we can approve the regulation zone change now,
Okay.
or tonight, or whatever. We can make a decision on that tonight, correct?
He has two requests before you. You can approve both, none, or one or the other.
Yes.
One is for the-
And there's no urgency in terms of time for the tower. So
Right.
if it takes 6 months, still well enough time to get it into the plans.
Okay, so I don't think it will take 6 months. I think it'll, hopefully January. That's our goal. Doesn't always go the way we want. All right, cool. Is there any other questions? Is there anybody here? There isn't. But to speak in favor of the applicant or oppose the I don't know, there's somebody in the back there. So, okay.
Just will say with the tower, it does add to the taxes. Just to be clear on that. So it's fine with me if you don't approve it.
I like that.
Yeah, okay.
That was very good.
Does that mean you spoke against it?
Just the tower. Actually, I think it's a nice feature, you know.
I'll just note for the record that Mrs. Urbano.
I'll say.
Right, exactly. Biased, this is a bum. All right, very good.
Thank you
you
all.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're closing that hearing.
So we're closing that hearing. We have an application, we're gonna have to do a public hearing on Capasso Landscaping at 131 Bradley Road. Application for a change of use of portion of the first floor to storage of landscaping equipment. I don't even know what 131 Bradley Road is.
So this is the same structure where you have a dog training facility on one part of the lower level. This would be on the other part of that lower level.
That's the one, that's the parcel right next to the
Yes.
Animal control, yes.
animal control.
There is a walkout off the back of that building. Is the dog training going on the lowest level or the first
The
floor?
dog training would be going on the lowest level along with this, and so the upper level, to the best of what staff has been told, there's an existing dressmaker that's in 125 Bradley Road, and so they would be expanding into the second floor of 131 Bradley Road. So there would be 3 uses within 131.
All right. Okay, cool. So we can schedule that for the next month?
Mhm.
Okay, so let's move into our work session. And Mr. Urbano is the first one on there. Any discussion?
I just had a question. In terms of the language of this tower, there's a big difference between the language in terms of the tower, right, and the particular project at hand. The language seems very broad if we're going to amend the regulations to include any kind of a tower. Doesn't that seem broad? I mean, what if the tower's 500 feet?
Yeah. Well, I agree.
So I'm the newbie here, all right? So just to point out, I don't have as much experience. But this language is very broad. I mean, someone could put in like a 700-foot tower, right? Would it then be permissive? permissible to do
Well,
that?
that's the question, and that's why we would have to that's why we have to determine what we want our definition of a tower to be. But that's why I think that we have two things before us, the idea of a tower or the idea of changing the regulations, and so I think we should focus on whether we should change the regulations. He doesn't necessarily want us to say yes or no on the, well, maybe not, maybe he doesn't, but he doesn't care whether we say yes or no on the tower tonight. I think we need to do a little more. I've asked Leslie to do some work on this, but she hasn't gotten back to us yet, because I agree that although it's taxable, which is a whole new way of looking at it, in fact, I think that the higher you go, the tax rate goes higher. Just thinking.
Hey, with a view.
With
Let's
a
get
view,
into that West
with a
Rock
view, right? So if it's usable space, that's one thing to be in the tower. But if it's just a decorative tower, that's a different.
Sure.
So
I mean, this particular project doesn't seem too
right,
different. I mean, that seems okay to me, in my view.
right.
But just changing the language was very expansive.
I would like to hold, my own personal feeling is to hold off on the definition, the change of the definition of height, to give it more work. With respect to the with respect to amending to allow residential in, what?
That's what we're.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he's asking for two things.
Yeah.
That I think we should hold up on and not agree to now.
Which,
The height, definition of height.
but the GP district allowing residences in the GP
Yeah,
district.
but isn't that exactly what we are proposing in the?
Yes.
Yes.
I have no I have no problem with that. I mean, that was the whole concept, is to encourage mixed use.
Well, the height question can go in there, except for and just take the tower out. Part of it. But I agree. I'm thinking probably the main point he needs is whether we can put
Exactly.
residential.
And
And
the
that
height-
is that does go with our POCD, and it goes by what we're talking
Exactly,
about
so I have no problem.
doing anyway. So yeah.
I have no problems with that whatsoever.
Okay.
Encourage mixed use.
All right. So does somebody want to make a motion?
I will move that we amend the zoning in the GP district to include residential uses.
Is there a second?
Second.
Who's voting, Chris?
You're all voting.
Okay. I vote in favor.
Question on this. When we, and maybe this is a technical question, if we approve residential, does that include multifamily? Or does that mean it has to be a single family in the BG? I mean,
GB.
is the language sufficient? Is what I'm asking.
Gotta look at what you got.
I'm also trying to think of what we're doing in the proposed regulations.
Well, anything can be rental. I mean, you can put in condo and still be renting this thing.
Oh, yeah, no, that's, but is it okay just to say residential is what I'm saying?
I don't have.
Well, the residential vote there, wouldn't it be the same as what it would be anywhere else throughout Woodbridge?
Question is whether it's single family or multifamily residential.
Yes, but there's no multifamily in Woodbridge, right?
Yes, there are.
Oh, yes,
There
there
are.
are.
Oh, okay.
And I just don't know about the zoning regulations offhand. Where are we? I'll have to see what they, that's the only thing. I mean, I don't wanna say residential and then it comes out to be, it has to be a single family home.
Well, it's kind of like a cross. It's kind of a toss-up because what's multifamily? What is multifamily? I'm gonna put condo.
But it says to allow multiple,
And if I can't,
his
revision sell them, I'm
proposes
doing
that
To me, it's
the
a
change be to
multifamily.
allow multiple family dwellings, no larger than 1,250 square feet each in the GB district. Doesn't that mean multiple families in the same dwelling?
Then it's not residential is what I'm saying. We just can't say residential. in the approval.
Are you looking at Leslie's thing?
No, I'm looking at the June 7th. Letter
Mhm.
that proposed two amendments to the zoning regulations. First is proposed modification of the zoning regs for the town of Woodbridge to add residential uses to GB district by modifying section 3.1.2.1 2 in parentheses of item number 12 to allow multiple family dwellings no larger than 1,250 square feet each in the GB district.
Well, it's not the accessory, I see what you're looking at there.
I don't understand the distinction you're drawing.
So, this
The language
is
that was
on the
proposed by
special
Jim
exception.
just solely says, consider revising the zoning regulations to allow residential uses in the GB zone.
So it was changed from this letter we first got several months ago.
Right, his letter about the,
And this is,
yeah,
This is
no,
special
I'm sorry,
exception.
the letter of June 7th is the letter. So it would be add residential uses to the GB district by modifying that section to allow multifamily dwellings no larger than 1,250 square feet each. So it limits the size of the units.
and the problem here is we have it as a special exception.
Yeah. Which I,
Not by right. I mean, you can think of it if you want,
yeah, but that doesn't affect him right now.
No, but
Right.
if we do that, then
We have to change this,
we'd have to change this.
which we should, I don't know why.
Well, we can
Yeah.
discuss that.
Yeah, right.
That's the only thing I'm getting concerned about.
I don't understand your concern at all.
Yeah.
This?
Yeah.
It is
Right
a-
here, it's special exception. It's not right.
So what?
It's not right.
But we can make it right.
No, this is site plan,
Right.
P use,
Permit.
permitted, nothing done right now. This, it's a special exception.
So why can't we, can we,
These aren't in force yet.
No, but I
no,
don't.
they're not, but there's some
Down the
reason.
road, you don't
But
want
there
it
is
to be.
some reason why she has a special exception in there.
Yes.
I think more for her control thing than anything else.
Probably.
'Cause that's what all special exceptions seem to do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All controls.
It's total,
But this
absolutely.
has to be accepted as a zoning change, or we can accept it, we can't accept it as a special exception, or can we do it as a special exception?
But you can make it approved by
Depends on what our current regs are.
So why can't we just approve this as a special exception?
what this project,
Yeah.
because it's not permissible in the zone right now.
Right now, the residential.
Well, why wouldn't it, but it would still be a special, wouldn't that be a special exception?
Yeah.
It's the question whether or not if you adopt the regulation, you make it contingent on any applications being special
Two
exceptions.
exceptions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Well, then I would, okay. What would I do?
Article 1,
I would say we should put in a special.
with a special exception.
No,
Be
tell me
granted.
I can't.
What?
Well, you just said it.
No, I said that's, you make it contingent, or you just condition it. Approval by special exception.
Right.
Oh, okay, fine, that's
As
what I
part
was
of the
saying.
zone.
That's what I said. That's what.
Really? We're talking about that? That's what I was saying. No, fine, then that's what we should do. So you should amend your motion.
So somebody needs to amend the
It's
motion.
my,
It's his motion.
Soon.
my motion.
Okay, there you go.
Do you know what we want to do?
No. Well,
We have to make this work with current regs and future regs, is basically what their motion
Right.
needs to be.
think I can think that far ahead? It's all, if I, the June 7th motion, I could, application in front of me do something.
Well, except the problem is he changed that, you say.
No,
No.
she went back and said this was the right letter.
She revised.
Yeah.
Didn't it?
I would amend the motion to, that the zoning regulations be modified to add residential uses to the GB district by modifying section 3.121, paren 2 of item number 12 to allow multiple family dwellings no larger than 1,250 square feet each in the GB district, and that any proposed residential use be approved by special exception.
There you go.
Second.
Favor.
Everyone happy?
Third?
Hmm?
Third?
Yeah.
Fourth? I'm always just-
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And then you're just gonna note for the record that you found it in compliance with your town plan of conservation and development.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. All right.
And then you need, because you do have an application before you for the other definition, you need to act on that, because otherwise it goes and it's considered an approval if you don't act on it.
I, with respect to the other application, I move that be declined. Definition height at this time, without prejudice.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Let's see.
But we're still gonna be asking Leslie to look into
Yeah.
that question, correct? All right.
Yeah, because the question is, I mean, well, the tower becomes an issue with the fire department. But if it's just a decorative thing, then the fire department,
Do
well,
they
we should
care?
probably check.
Maybe
I
it
think
wasn't a
we should check
mistake.
this
I
out.
mean, maybe it wasn't a mistake that that language wasn't there from these. Are we sure it was a mistake? That the tower language?
There's absolutely no record in the minutes
Okay.
that there was any discussion about removing that definition. There was
Oh,
a
okay.
scale change to the zoning regs, and from what we can determine,
Sure.
there was just something that was left out.
But I do think we need to talk about definition of tower, because none of these really seems
I agree.
like the
I agree.
right definition.
I agree. Well, the tower that's on the building that he's talking about, did that get a,
I wasn't here when that was done.
it's not
Is
that,
that a one-story or two-story building?
it's 2 stories.
The two-story, it's built into the hillside, so it may not have tripped it because the back elevation may have been
Right.
higher.
All right, cool. Okay, let's move on to Joey Seidner, 9 Blue Trails Drive, application for renewal residential permit. I need a permit with number of years.
Can I vote on that because I came a little late? I think I heard enough of it.
I move to approve 4-year.
Second.
I vote to approve.
And I came later, so I'll abstain.
I came just before you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right.
How often does she have to come back for this?
Well, now not for 4 years.
So that's what we just did with the 4 years.
We
So
usually
she came
do
back
a-
1 year ago, we approved it, or the board approved it, right?
Right.
And this was okay.
She's
Sure.
gonna
Thank
put
you.
What it is
Thank you.
it's a test to see if we get any complaints, if they actually adhere to the representations that they make about no more than an infrequent visitor, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Understood. Thank you very much.
So you have 2 items of correspondence that you have. One was a request from Peter Olson for a reduction
Oh, right. Yeah, so we
in
want
the
to talk about.
bond for 19 Diana. And that was a joint bond between you and the Inland Wetlands Agency, so they had Terry and Bob Criscolo go out to the site, so if you're willing to leave it to their discretion, it probably would be able to be reduced, but not fully released. And then the second one that you have is from Mr. Pryor, and that's again a joint inland wetlands and town planning and zoning bond, and again Bob and Terry went out to that one. So
They've
if you
already
wanna
been out there?
defer,
They've already been out there?
they've already went out there because it came to wetlands first, so wetlands initiated having them go out.
But that's a,
You had an earth removal permit for both.
I'm talking about just the one for Heatherwood Estates.
That's another one. Osborne, which was,
Right.
that's a monument one. That's a third one.
And so the one for Olson is, there's two pieces of property or one?
There were two pieces, but they only developed 19. So it's just an earth removal fill permit. The site work has all been done. It's just a matter of determining if, final vegetation will grow in there. It's only been one season, so we need to hold, a small balance of the
Yeah.
bond for at least
Yeah.
another season.
Sorry.
So what's the recommendation as to how?
Recommendation from staff would be to have, leave it to your zoning enforcement officer and Bob Crisco based on their site visits. I didn't go out with them, so I can't honestly tell you what they did or didn't. And as with regard to the third one, which was solely for a monument, those were 4 lots on Osborne Lane that had come before you for re-subdivision. It was re-subdivided, and recently the Woodbridge Land Trust took ownership of the parcels, so there's no need for the
Right.
subdivision monuments to go in, so that should just be
That
released.
one's kind of a no-brainer. And when they reduce the bond, how much do they reduce it by?
Typically, it drops down, I don't know what Bob's recommendation is. Typically, it goes down to about 5,000.
What is the amount? What percentage of?
On Peters, on 19 Diana, was 47,000. But as I say, all the site works, the house is there, it's getting its final seal.
So it's, was $47,000 bond and you're willing to put it down to 5,000, but there's still a lot there
There was no,
that may be developed.
but it would have to come in for its own permit to develop. So this was purely for the site development that occurred on 19.
I understand, I'm just trying.
Yeah. So if the other lot were ever to be developed, it would come in with its own bond.
Isn't it a big cut?
Well, I don't know what the recommendation's going to be, but I have no problems leaving it to
Yeah,
Volunteer.
Bob and Terry.
yeah.
As to the amount.
All right. So you want,
I mean, particularly they're doing the sidewalk.
I'll move that, for approval of the request to reduce the bond, subject to the review and assessment of staff
and Bob Driscoll.
at Bob Crisco.
And that was for 19 Diana?
Yeah.
Second.
Or
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There you go.
So then you have the one for 190 Seymour, that's a release.
Right. Yeah, so.
It's a release of the remainder.
we're gonna make a
I
motion.
move, I move that.
With respect
They automatically
to,
just get it back anyway.
oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. This is not Osborne?
There honestly were 3 that came in. One was Osborne, which is a release of a bond for monuments. That should just go back because the whole parcel, all 4 parcels got sold to the Woodbridge Land Trust, so
Right.
it's just gonna be open space.
Right.
We just don't have a written document on it.
yes,
And
I don't.
I got 2 copies of the same thing.
I'll have one for Friday.
Yeah.
I don't have a second one either.
I don't have, I just
Friday, I
have
don't have.
I have 19 and I have Osborne.
You'll have to-
the other one is 190, which you should have had. And it was a request, it was a joint request that came in.
Oh, I
And
did.
Terry and Bob have been out there.
This is it.
I don't.
Go ahead.
Give me 2 copies of the same.
Oh, that's
But that's
A&R.
awesome, that's what we just did.
Yeah, that's,
We have one and
no, and I have the Heatherlands.
I don't have it.
Would you like me to officially request the bond for the record?
We can't during work session.
Oh,
Yes, you can. I screwed up in not giving it to you, okay?
see, now that she's
Okay.
admitted that on tape, it's okay. Go ahead, speak.
Robert Pryor, previous owner of 190 Seymour Road. The property's been sold. The bond's been in place since September or October of 2015. The work that was bonded was pretty much all, has been been through 2 seasons, complete seasons now. You partially released this bond back in May, I believe, this commission. And so I'm seeking the full release of the remainder of the bond.
Is this the house that's the one garage?
This is the one that's way up on the hill on Route 67. That it's like a
This is on 67, it's on the left-hand side as you're going out.
We did the big drainage channel down the side of the hillside.
Oh, yes.
That's all I have to say, right?
Yeah.
Yep, that'll do it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So is our motion to
So moved.
second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
We just needed a picture. No, I'm just kidding.
What's that?
Okay, so then we have the Osborne Lane, which is a no-brainer also.
That's a no-brainer.
So you're into making the motion?
Sure. I move that the previously posted cash bond for Meadow Estate subdivision be returned to Osborne Lane Associates.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, very good.
Minutes? We have the
Report
minutes
on
of
activities from SCROG.
There was continued work and a presentation from the consultant on the revised regional plan of conservation and development.
Oh.
There will be
How's that going?
two upcoming public hearings with respect to the final product, which is supposed to be completed by the end of the year.
Who's the consultant on that?
Malone and
They probably not us.
so that was literally that was the only business at the last meeting.
All right, cool. Update on the regulations. You probably heard me already, so I'm thinking that we can do another public information meeting in December. And on the idea that we would have a public hearing sometime in January. And then if we can do that, then we can, depending on how the public hearing goes, we can vote on it at our February meeting if we want. So that's the timeline, that's the goal. We're gonna move on here. So Chris, I guess you can send out a like the week of we'll do a special meeting the week of the 18th, but not the 18th. If that's possible, the 19th, 20th, or 21st.
What?
December.
Does Leslie have an idea when she's gonna have the documents ready to go up?
So I don't know, but she knows the goal here. So
And then are you planning on having a public hearing?
that would be the end of probably the last week in January, if it's 35 days.
Okay.
That's the closest we can do.
So you wanna do, this is a special meeting, the 19th, 20th, or 21st?
Yeah, how does that look?
I'm only free the 20th.
Okay.
It's a busy time of year.
Yeah, I know.
Well, those are all work commitments still, but.
Hey. Okay, so,
Chris is gonna send around
yeah.
an email about it.
Yeah. All right. We have minutes to approve. Here it is. For the October 30th meeting. So when will we get the meeting minutes for,
I just emailed Tammy again today, and she was gonna try to get them to me tonight.
okay.
I move we approve the minutes of the special meeting of October 30, 2017.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There you go. Does anyone want to leave?
I move to adjourn.
All right.
I'm always quick on that.
Anyone opposed?
I'll second.
Second.